This is Roland Mumford with Mumford.law. I have a video I want to show you involving a police officer beating a suspect with a bat. Yes, beats the man with a bat. And the interesting thing about this video is that you probably want to root for the officer, given that he had kidnapped a girlfriend or former girlfriend or some relationship they had. Apparently, the kidnapping occurred where he entered her vehicle on her property. They drive for some distance. The police learn about this alleged kidnapping. Then it comes to a stop. The first officer, I don't know where he gets this bat from. Maybe he's a baseball coach or something. And he approaches the lady's vehicle. The gentleman is in the vehicle. Now, again, this suspect is allegedly kidnapping this lady. You kind of want to root for this officer with the bat, to be honest with you. However, this is certainly excessive force and it's a violation of policy. Then a second officer approaches the car. Both of the officers could have taken the suspect. The officers had a taser that they could have deployed. They had a baton that they could have used, or another similar device, one of those things when you sort of do this motion, it becomes like a full baton, and you use that. I don't remember what they're called. But certainly you can't take a baseball bat and then as you pull the guy out where you could have tased him or used a baton and then keep beating him with a bat. And the other officer should have stepped in, again, yelled taser, and then tased the guy, or he himself used a baton or some other physical force to accomplish restraint pursuant to policy and not in violation of this suspect's constitutional rights. So let's take a look at this video and we'll show what happened, and then we'll have an attorney reaction after.
A big story at 6 o'clock, an investigation underway after a Pritchard police officer camera using a baseball bat to repeatedly hit a man suspected of domestic violence.
WKRG News 5's Christina J. Harris joins us now to break down the video and what happened moments before that video.
Yeah, that is right. A woman in Pritchard had her phone out and recorded the whole thing as it went down. Cell phone video.
Oh!
Captured Pritchard police officer Tavon Campbell hitting a man repeatedly with a baseball bat on Cawthon Street in Pritchard Monday evening, as another officer stands guard, weapon drawn on the passenger side. Investigators say the man's wife was in the car against her will.
Detective Campbell did strike him with the baseball bat to gain compliance for him to surrender and so they can subdue him.
Minutes earlier, police say 41-year-old DeVoris Malone ran out of his home after officers arrived for a domestic violence call. Investigators say Malone then hopped into the passenger seat of his wife's car, hitting her in the chest and then forcing her to drive away.
She was able to stop the car. Officers gave chase. They also gave chase initially to get the subject to stop and surrender, but he did refuse to do so, and that's what led them to the encounter.
Now, this is where it's believed that the altercation took place, just a block and a half away from the home on North Cawthon Street.
During this incident, the officers deployed a piece of equipment, a baseball bat, that is not authorized or issued by the department, instead of the standard issued baton.
After the wife escapes the car, the officer is seen striking Malone again, including after he's on the ground. Malone was booked into Metro Jail just after midnight on charges including domestic violence, resisting arrest, and unlawful imprisonment. Both officers are now on administrative leave, and we're told charges against Malone, could upgrade to kidnapping. Live in the studio, I'm Christina J. Harris, WKRG News 5.
So as you can see, he's beating the hell out of this guy with a baseball bat. And now I'm going to show you a video that apparently was recorded by a bystander. I tried to find some body cam video online, but was not able to do so. So a person in a car was driving by and pulls out their cell phone and records the incident from a distance where you can get a better view. Let's take a look at this. Now, there is no audio in this video, so stick with me, but watch everything that happens. We'll discuss it. All right, let's take a look at this video, which was caught by a bystander driving by in their vehicle. They pull out their cell phone, and from this field of view, we can get a better idea of everything that happened. Now, there's no audio in this video. So here, apparently, this gentleman had a domestic dispute with this lady at the residence, And he came out of the residence, got into the car. She drives to this location. He apparently was beating on her, according to the news reports. Now, here comes this officer. Apparently, right here, he apparently tried to tase him. There he is holding the taser, but according to the news reports, the taser wasn't working. But why does he have the bat in his hand when he doesn't know whether that taser is going to work? There's another officer on the other side of the vehicle. Apparently, that is a female officer. So here, I think they may be trying to continue to tase the guy, and they're trying to subdue him. Now, here the lady is, the driver that was kidnapped is getting out of the vehicle or finding a way to get released from the guy holding on to her. Now, here the officer is striking the guy with a bat. So the taser must not have worked. And we're going to have an interesting video here in a moment where a criminal justice expert speaks about whether this was a proper use of force in the context of the taser not working. But why does this other officer come around earlier with her taser? They're still trying to get this guy out of the vehicle. And again, with a guy kidnapping a woman and beating on her, you may be rooting for these cops, and I wouldn't blame you. Up to this point, they may argue this is proper use of force. I think is debatable. But now is where we get into the excessive force. He's on the ground. He's on his back. He's apparently passive resistance at most, and the officer just keeps hitting him with a bat. Now we've got all the officers that have subdued him. It's a very interesting question, academic question of proper use of force. But I think when he comes out of the vehicle and he's laying on the ground, most certainly that is excessive force, and that bat should not have been used. I think it's a debate about where he's in the vehicle. So we discussed that video, and please put in your comments. Let me know your thoughts about whether you think this was a proper use of force. This next video, I want to show you an opinion given by a criminal justice expert in an interview with a local news media outlet, where she gives her analysis on the video. She thinks it's a proper use of force, where I disagree with her in part because I don't believe when he was subdued on the ground that the officer should have kept hitting him with the bat. So let's take a look at this. Give me your thoughts in the comments.
WKRG News 5's Akivia McFarland joins us now. Akivia, you watched the video with a criminal justice expert today.
That's right, Pete and Roseanne. I spoke with Dr. Alexis Rockwell, an assistant professor of criminal justice at the University of South Alabama. Rockwell believes the initial use of the bat in lieu of a baton could be seen as good force. In the video, you can see Officer Tavon Campbell break the back window with the bat. The officer then tases 41-year-old DeVoris Malone, who's accused of holding his wife captive. When the taser didn't work, Officer Campbell swung the bat at Malone in an effort to safely remove the woman from the vehicle.
Keeping it at less than lethal, the use of the bat in lieu of the baton, that form, that tactic, very appropriate. That's good force. They got the victim to safety.
Once she's out, the officer continues to use the bat to strike the suspect, even when he finally gets out of the vehicle and onto the ground.
The confusion here, and the confusion with a lot of media, is that any use of force by a police officer is excessive or unnecessary. That's not always the case.
Dr. Rockwell believes body camera footage will need to be reviewed to help determine if force beyond Malone's removal from the vehicle was justified. Pritchard's mayor says that body camera review will be part of the department's investigation.
We are committed to a full and fair review process, and will provide additional updates as soon as they become available.
If the footage shows that he's trying to avoid, like if his movement is, I don't want to be hit anymore, then not good force, right? At that point, you de-escalate, you use open hand tactics.
The Mobile County District Attorney's Office says it's too early to determine if the officer's use of force was acceptable. Rockwell believes the situation may call for a closer look at Pritchard Police Department policies.
If there's no double checking that officers are aware of the up-to-date procedures, the SOPs, if there's no internal accountability and internal, yeah, we want this reform to happen, then it's likely going to fall on deaf ears and it's not going to go anywhere.
Campbell and the other officers seen in the video on the other side of the car are both on administrative leave. Reporting in studio, Akivia McFarland, WKRG News 5.
So that was the interview with the criminal justice expert, who I don't entirely agree with. The immediate question that jumps out is, was this an appropriate use of force? And to answer that, we have to look at a few key legal principles, primarily the Fourth Amendment and the Supreme Court case of Graham versus Connor. Now, the Fourth Amendment protects us from unreasonable searches and seizures. When an officer uses force, it is considered a seizure, and that force must be objectively reasonable in light of the facts and circumstances confronting them. Graham versus Connor gives us the framework to analyze that reasonableness. It's not about 20/20 hindsight. It's about the perspective of a reasonable officer on scene, acknowledging that police often have to make split-second judgments in tense, uncertain, and rapidly evolving situations. Now, the Graham factors require us to consider three things. Number one, the severity of the crime at issue. Was this individual suspected of? Was it a minor infraction or a violent felony event? Clearly, this was a domestic assault, a felony in the kidnapping of this lady. Apparently, according to news reports, the suspect was physically abusing her, hitting her, and so forth. The second factor, whether the suspect poses an immediate threat to the safety of the officers or others. I think that when you have a police chase from that lady's residence there to the scene, and they come on to the vehicle where the assault was happening, the kidnapping was continuing to occur, I think that that factor goes in favor of the officers. Now, the third factor, whether the suspect is actively resisting or attempting to evade arrest by flight. Well, he's in the vehicle. Apparently, he was telling the lady where to drive to get away from the officers, as I understand from the news reports, and he obviously does not immediately surrender himself to the officers there on scene. They're having to pull him out of the vehicle. Looking at this footage, and again, assuming we don't have all the context, the use of a bat, which is essentially an impact weapon, generally falls into the category of intermediate to severe force. And for that level of force to be justified, the threat posed by the individual typically needs to be significant. An immediate threat of serious bodily injury or death to the officer or others. Simply resisting arrest or even passive resistance usually doesn't justify that level of force. Thanks. Please click like, share, and subscribe. I really would appreciate sharing these videos and telling others to subscribe. I really want to hit that 10,000 subscriber goal by the end of the month. Have a great day.